My goal with these presentations was to provide need-to-know information for people visiting these countries for the first time or even the second or third. I try here to provide you with as much information as I possibly can. Sometimes this information changes over the years, but this is what it was in 2025. If you're planning to visit France, please feel free to take a copy of these two slides. They will give you a little bit of information that will help you on your travel. And France is a beautiful country to wander through. I created this fun fact slide about France to inform you and also hopefully to amuse you. When I lived in England, I visited France once a month. Took the ferry across the English Channel and I had lots of cheeses. I never ever realised there was 400 different types of cheeses in France, and probably got past 10% of them. I am very, very pleased that the Eiffel Tower wasn't dismantled after 20 years. It's a beautiful sight, and when you get to the top, the views are incredible. This next fun fact, I don't think it'll change my life, but it did make me smile. The average French person uses more soap than any other nationality in Europe. Isn't that incredible? Also, Versailles, once the royal palace, has 2,300 rooms. After I visit Paris, that's where we're going. I don't think I'll get very near 2,300 rooms. And finally, it states that France is the most visited country in the world. Over 90 million tourists every year. If you go to Paris in the summer, they're all there. I promise you, you'll not be able to move. During our 14 years of wandering around the world, we've tended to stay at hostels. And the reason for that is pretty straightforward. First reason, less expensive. Second reason, you meet a lot of like-minded people. Now, the hostel that we found in Paris was the UCPA Sports Station Hostel. I highly recommend it. Of the hundreds of hostels we've stayed in around the world, this ranks in the first 2 or 3. It was absolutely perfect. Get a chance to be in Paris? Don't miss it. As you can see from the diagram, the UCPA is very, very close, within walking distance of the Rosa Parks railway station. And as I mentioned earlier, travelling by train in Paris and throughout France is the way to travel. One of the reasons we stayed there was we wanted to visit Versailles. And how did we get there? We took the train. The next 2 slides show you 6 places which are worth visiting when you are in Paris. Most visitors, their number 1 priority is the Eiffel Tower. And whenever you get to the Eiffel Tower, there's always a long, long line of people queuing to take the elevators. I highly recommend walk the steps. I promise you it's nowhere near as difficult as you think it will be. This photograph is just a few that we took as we wandered through Paris. If you look on the top left-hand corner, the Eurostar. As I've said earlier, take the train. And as you can see from the photograph below, the seats are very, very, very comfortable. The photograph in the centre is Lorena after she climbed up the 674 steps to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And as you can see, the view behind is excellent. The photograph in the top left-hand corner is one of the most iconic landmarks in Paris, the Notre Dame Cathedral. And if you look, that black spike which is going into the sky, it was unfortunately lost in fire in 2019. But the good news is it's currently being reconstructed. The photograph in the bottom right-hand corner is the Gare du Nord, which is the North Railway Station. It's one of the busiest railway stations in Europe and serves as a major hub for both domestic and international rail, including the Eurostar from London. The Basilica of Sacré-Cœur, which means Sacred Heart. The design is in Roman format, which is very unusual for Paris. That's why it features a large dome. and it is the second highest point in Paris after the Eiffel Tower. Its location, it is situated on Montmartre Hill, offering stunning views of the city and the city's landmarks. If you're planning to visit, the Basilica is free to enter and open daily, with access to the dome for additional fees. The photograph in the top right hand corner of the big bus is the hop-on, hop-off bus, which makes sightseeing around the French capital very, very easy. The bus has commentary in 9 different languages, and also you can upgrade for cruises or entry into the Arc de Triomphe. If you're thinking about a special night out, consider the cruise down the river. You have music, beautiful food, and some incredible sights on the way. The Louvre is the largest single complex museum on earth, coming just short of 8,000 square feet. Of course, the question being, does being the biggest make you the best? Well, the Louvre is also filled with the world's most famous artwork, so in my opinion, the Louvre is by far the best. The Louvre was formerly the Muséum des Arts, and it was the first national museum in France. It was opened in 1793 with only 500 works of art. Today, the Louvre contains over 380,000 works of art, making it the single largest museum on earth. If you're in Paris and you decide to visit the Louvre, here's a small piece of advice for you. Go to the Louvre in the evening. You'll have a much more intimate experience, and it's way, way less crowded. It was reported in 2018 that the Louvre had 10.2 million visitors. On the slide, you can see the glass pyramid, and that is globally recognized as the entryway to the Louvre. The pyramid is arguably as much a symbol of Paris as the Eiffel Tower. I mentioned a couple of times there that the Louvre is the biggest museum in the world. I need to correct that. The Louvre has now fallen to the second museum in the world. The opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum in Cairo has taken first place, and I have to tell you, if you ever get the chance to go to Cairo, this museum is phenomenal. In my opinion, the Louvre and the Grand Museum are equal first. They should also be considered for man-made wonders of the world. They're both fantastic. That last statement, that they're both fantastic, is from a guy who's not really a museum person, but these two, well, they're just wonderful. In the early 1500s, there was a young lady, Lisa Gherardini. She was the wife of a Florentine merchant. And there was a gentleman called Leonardo da Vinci, thought he'd do a quick painting of her. It took him actually 18 years to complete it. And her name is, I don't think I need to tell you. Leonardo's painting of Lisa is probably considered one of the most famous and valuable paintings in the world. It's been estimated that it would collect over $1 billion if it was ever for sale. In 1963, Lisa migrated to the United States without her passport, and it is estimated that over 40,000 people a day went to see her. With all these people visiting her every day, she had nothing to smile about, so she decided maybe it would be better if she went back to France. So back to the Louvre she went. In 1911, an Italian handyman who had been working at the Louvre stole Lisa and held it in his apartment for over 2 years before he tried to sell it, was duly arrested, and Lisa returned home. The final fun fact here is that a gentleman called Napoleon, when he was in charge of France, he took Lisa from the Louvre and held her in his apartment. Ren and I got to spend 5 or 6 hours at the Louvre, and we were fortunate to see Lisa. She smiled and we smiled back. It made for a very memorable day. One place you should never ever miss if you go to Paris is obviously the Arc de Triomphe. Now the Arc is very difficult to get to because of all the traffic, but you can take a metro station to the Charles de Gaulle Etoile station, and there's an underground tunnel which leads you right across to the Arc. The building of the Arc was begun in 1806 by a gentleman named Napoleon. They were to honour his many, many victories. When you get to the Arc, you must go to the rooftop. You need to buy tickets to get to the rooftop, and I highly recommend that you buy them online. There's an elevator which takes you right to the top of the mezzanine, but the final 42 steps to the observation deck you must climb yourself. And if you get there, if you get right to the top in the terrace, you're going to see superb views both day and night across the city. It's well worth the visit. This next slide is 2 beautiful museums, which are all within walking distance. Also within walking distance is the Toulouse Gardens, well worth a visit. After wandering around Paris for 5 days, we left the UCPA hostel early in the morning and went to the railway station to take the train to Versailles. Here's a couple of useful pieces of information about visiting Versailles. The palace is closed on a Monday. The best days to go to the palace is a Wednesday and Thursday. They are by far the least crowded. If you're in Paris and you decide to go to Versailles, there are many tours, but you'll find them quite expensive. You can go by train, and the slide just appearing shows you exactly how to get there. There is approximately 10 to 15 million visitors every year, and so you're going to experience very, very large crowds. My recommendation from having been there on a number of occasions is get there very early in the morning, and then you'll be able to wander the gardens without the crowds and get a ticket for late in the afternoon to visit the inside. Remember, there's 2,300 rooms. You know where you're going to ever see them all. Marie Antoinette was the last queen of France, and she lived in Versailles for about 20 years. She was the wife of King Louis XVI. As part of the French Revolution, the French monarchy was totally removed, and Marie Antoinette was tried and convicted of treason, and she was guillotined. It is said that her last words, as she inadvertently stepped on the executioner's foot, "Pardon me, sir, I did not do that on purpose. Please excuse me." It is my opinion that these humble words, spoken just before execution by guillotine, contrast sharply with the charges which were against her. Just to gently whet your appetite for a visit to Versailles, these are a few photographs which will never ever do justice to such an incredible, wonderful place. The end. We really hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as we have enjoyed the last 14 years of travelling the world. Travelling, the only way to live.